Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 789. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
We're in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
We're going to do things slightly different today, just to mess with you, those of us in North America who have moved their clocks ahead an hour. We're going to put usually what's at the end at the beginning because we're all messed up a little bit. Listen, this game is about a new Doctor Who game called The Lonely Assassins. It's from Maze Theory, coming out March 19th on mobile platforms and on Steam. We're going to have an interview right now with the writer, Gavin Collinson. Stay tuned after this, and we will give you details on how you could actually win a prize pack with the game and a poster as well. So stay tuned after the interview with the wonderful Gavin Collinson. The Weeping Angels return in the new game from Maze Theory called Doctor Who, The Lonely Assassins, available March 19th on mobile platforms and on Steam. And the writer of the game, Gavin Collinson, joins me now. Hello, Gavin.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to the game. I'm sure you're looking forward to it coming out because I know that crunch time and getting a game to market on the date that it has been prescribed is a very big thing in the world. So yeah, how are you looking forward to the game finally being released?
Yeah, we're all we're all aging by the day. Like it's like the 7-episode Orbit where it's like Hoffel's radiation is flooded, and as you say, the stress goes up, and there's that date in mind. But it's, you know what, it's great being the writer. It's a little bit easier for me, but the guys at Maze are doing a fantastic job. And what is so encouraging is the people who are already testing the game and trying to get out want more and like it, and so we kind of faint with relief and carry on.
Well, let's hope no one finds a villa somewhere and casts them out of the ship as a way to save face, in reference to your unexpected Blake 7 reference.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that came from.
Listen, I'm glad it happened. So for those that don't know, describe the game and what it's about, and the fact that the Weeping Angels are back, and that you decided to, let's make a sequel to one of the most popular Doctor Who stories of all time.
Yeah, well, it's not quite a sequel.
Right.
I don't think anyone's calling that, but you're absolutely right in that it draws on the mythology of Blink. It's based in and around, partly in and around Wester Drumlins, and you've got Larry Nightingale's back and a few of the faces that you may recognise. But the game is essentially what's called a found phone game. So it starts on the premise that you, the player, found a phone. And so that handset in your hand is somebody else's phone. And that sounds like an unlikely premise to start an adventure. But believe you me, there on in, you're front and center. You're playing a game in universe, and you're helped along by Osgood, played by Ingrid Oliver. And you get to experience and come into contact with a number of other characters. And you essentially, I don't want to say too much, but I think you would know from trailers, we encounter Larry, and we encounter Wester Drumlins, and don't even blink, we encounter the Weeping Angels. And so it's partly a mystery, partly a thriller, but it's one in which you are part of it. There's a site that accompanies it called Into the Unknown, and one of the reviewers said, I'm never going to be in an episode of Doctor Who, but I think this is the closest I'm ever going to get to being in an episode of Doctor Who. And that's exactly what we're aiming for. And hopefully that's what the game delivers.
Yeah, I watched a bit of the early footage there from the Maze Theory YouTube channel, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of like an escape room. Like there's sort of puzzles to solve in a way to sort of get past. Is that an inaccurate description?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots in it, Stephen. So that's part of it. Part of it is escaping from certain locations, but it's also piecing together clues.
Yeah.
It's also going through emails and text messages and photographs that you find on the phone. So if you found someone's phone, and went through it, what would you find? You would look at their emails, and this is the first game of its kind that I've written. And what's lovely and what's maybe surprising is the breadth that you can go into. And so you find out so much about Larry's life, his relationships, what he's been doing. And we spent a lot of time and in conversations with the BBC making that as authentic as possible. So it's, to an extent it is, there are escape room type scenarios, but there's so much more, as you will hopefully find out soon.
Mm-hmm. When did the idea for this sort of come about, and how long has this sort of been in gestation?
Well, fair play to Maze Theory. One of their kind of central tenets is how do we make an immersive experience for people? How do we make a game as immersive as possible? So these are the guys that did The Edge of Time, which was a VR experience, which was very well received. And this is just another way that the company can make something which really pulls you into another world. And they've been brilliant to work with. As I say, they've created this website as well, which was no easy undertaking, which is a kind of prologue to the story. There's a lot of in-universe stuff, and the game is full of what we now call Easter eggs, but references to shows that I think people will enjoy. So I think that's where the idea came from, to make something that's really immersive, something that anyone can get as long as you've got a smartphone. It's £2.99 here. It's going to be $3.99 in the States. So the price point, I think, is a fairly attractive one. And for that, you get, I don't know, I think it's 3 hours odd of gameplay. So it's hopefully, while we're waiting for some more Doctor Who, this is something that you can play and enjoy. And I think all those reasons culminated in somebody saying, yes, let's do this crazy thing.
And obviously the Weeping Angels are front and center. How long did it take to sort of land on the Weeping Angels being the central villain of this?
It took me 3, maybe 4 seconds. It was when the concept was described, you start off finding a phone, and it seems obvious now, but at the time it was like, how do we flesh this out into a meaningful and fun and scary adventure? And where can we go with it? What can we do? And the Weeping Angels seemed obvious. And every angel story very often gives you a new iteration of the angels. They can do something new. And we've introduced a new iteration of angel here, one that can kind of hack technology. Again, I don't want to say too much, but it's very exciting. And when it happens, it's actually quite scary. So the angels just seemed a really good fit for it, This was never a game where we got to a certain point and, in brackets, insert monster here. They were always the kind of one of the raisons d'etre for it. And they fit so well because they're this wonderful mix, aren't they, of cunning, intelligence, and cruelty, and all the things that just make for great opponents in the game. Plus, as I say, these new superpowers that they've got, which makes them even more threatening in this particular adventure.
Yeah, I suppose Steve Moffat did a genius thing by sort of like, giving them, not that I know what's happening in the game, but like giving them the ability to like sort of like an image of an angel is an angel in the two-parter there. Like, it's like Daleks wouldn't hack phones, but maybe the Weeping Angels would. So it does kind of feel like they're a natural to a game like this.
Yeah, they are. And this wasn't me, but the visuals as well that the guys at Kygon and Maze have come up with are really good. And it's not just the visuals. They're visuals, but not the visuals you're expecting. They're really nice and really, really inventive and quite chilling. So I hope people enjoy them.
Mm-hmm. You said it took you about 3 to 4 seconds to decide on the Weeping Angels. Osgood, is played, as you said, by Ingrid Oliver, is sort of the main protagonist or the helper of the game. How much of a natural was it to include her?
That was 1, maybe 2 seconds. I have to admit, I really love working with it. I mean, I worked with her briefly when she was on the show, and she's just the versatility that she brings to any role, the nuance and the power, and it's like that thing. She's the kind of actor that you put her in a scene and she immediately makes it better than it has any right to be. So that was my kind of selfish impulse, but also the character and the way she is positioned within the show made her a natural to be a character that leads you through certain situations. And over the course of the game, if you play it correctly, you will build up a character with her. And so that's another dynamic within the game. It's not you start at A and end at B. It's you go through various situations, and so obviously that relationship does develop. So it's fab. I was so pleased that she said yes, and I was so pleased that the BBC were up for this. And she shot scenes for us, and she's back in costume. And yes, a pure joy to be with her. I sound like such a fanboy, don't I? I'm so sorry. I'm listening to it. I'm even making myself cringe here. For goodness sake, get a life.
She's wonderful. I've interviewed her on stage at a convention, as she just brings this magnetism to the stage. She's a very funny and interesting performer and stuff. So and she's her character is overwhelmingly popular. When she was killed in the Darkwater Death in Heaven, and we was like, no, how dare you kill her?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You were right to gush. We're in the days of COVID here, and I'm just wondering, like, how has that impacted the production of the game? Like, did you shoot all of the live action elements like before all this happened, or how's that all been?
It wasn't shot before, but it was shot during a time when restrictions were slightly different than they are now. Because of the nature of the shoot, we were able to go through with it. We took certain extra precautions, of course. But yeah, it's been shot during an era of COVID, but not the current one. So that's how we were able to pull it off and get everything in the can just in time, thankfully.
Mm-hmm. What is the actual process of writing a video game? I heard a podcast recently with Sam Maggs, who has written a few video games herself, and she said that the most valuable tool is Microsoft Excel, because it's all sort of cells of dialogue or choices and everything like that. And I thought that is fascinating. I don't actually know how video games are written, Gavin. Can you inform me?
Yeah, it's different with every single one, and it depends on what's brought to table. So I've been involved in video games, for example, where it's more or less finished, and I've literally just been asked to drop dialogue in or points of dialogue, or I've been given a diagram and it's, can you put dialogue in here? Can you do whatever? With this, but the particular ones that I've done with Maze, with the VR one, that was very much write a script, and so it looked like a film script, and then you'd say cut away to gameplay. With this one, it was a lengthy process of building it up, and so initially, I think I wrote a treatment. There was 2 or 3 pages saying this is what we could do, this is where we could go. And then that was built up, and so it was specific scenes. And then as more and more people got involved and started to make it, that's when we started using the Excel spreadsheets, and dialogue was dropped in. But aside from that, obviously, there are scenes that were shot, there are messages, and those are written, again, in normal screenplay format. So it was a real hybrid, this particular game. And so all the above, all those words were involved, but writing with spreadsheet is awful, and so I tend to do it, kind of script it and then move it across. It's like, I don't know, it's like writing on an abacus somehow. It just doesn't feel right.
I suppose not. As you said, this isn't your first experience writing a game. You wrote Edge of Time. You were a content producer for the BBC up until relatively recently. So, first off, how is writing games in general, I guess, and also what does a content producer do at the BBC?
Writing games is brilliant, because there are Doctor Who stories which need to be told, and everyone wants to be told and stuff like that, and we get to do that. And when we did the VR game, by the way, is going to morph into a console game, and so people can play that even if they've not got VR sets. But to see people like Steve Moffat saying how much he enjoyed it and how much the weeping angels are scaring him is just fantastic. And they're always Mays are lovely to work with, and the Doctor Who team are great to work with. It's a lovely job. I mean, we're living in a time when so many people are suffering and so many people have got problems. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I think I'm blessed that I can go into my room, sit down, and start writing Doctor Who stories, which hopefully people will enjoy and actually play. So yes, it's fabulous writing them. And a content producer, the role evolves, but basically it's looking after behind the scenes stuff. It's looking after all the online stuff around the Twitter accounts, around the official websites, and produced many behind the scenes pieces, which get syndicated all over. You know what Doctor Who's like, they get syndicated all over the world. But I must issue a caveat, because it always annoys me when people say this. When I say I looked after, I did this, I was part of a big team. It wasn't just me, like Atlas with the Doctor Who world on my back. There was a big team that I was part of. And so I joined when it was during David Tennant's final days. In fact, my first on-set interview was going to be with David Tennant, Julie Gardner, and Russell T Davies. And I remember turning up at the TARDIS and waiting to meet David and Russell. I'd met Russell before, waiting to meet him again. And I suddenly thought, supposing they hate the show, supposing it's been a con, because I've worked on shows where that's happened, that people don't actually enjoy it. And so I was waiting to meet them, thinking, I hope they love Doctor Who, and as much as they profess to. And I could see them just in front of me laughing about the horns of Nymon. And I thought, I'm home. And they were, as I say, I thought, oh my goodness, they're talking about a season 17 story, which isn't even the best story from season 17. And they were killing themselves laughing. And from then on, I thought, yes, all is rosy in the garden. It's as good as it looks on the outside. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, back to the game, obviously, the Into the Unknown site, which is kind of like, a site within the game kind of thing. It kind of reminds me of the sort of, especially the early days, probably before you were involved in it, where they would have like these sort of like, fictitious sites that were like sort of mentioned in the episode that went out. Like, was that sort of a conscious time to sort of have like a real life kind of site that you could go into and sort of like look for clues for the game that you could just sort of access?
Completely. I mean, this again, this was an idea from Maze, and it's an extension of the fact that they love their stuff to be immersive. And so the site is one of the sites that you visit within the game. And so they said, well, why don't we make it a real site that you can visit? Why don't we do this? And they came up with some ideas. So the idea of covering the mysterious plinths, for example, was their idea. And I said, can we broaden it out? And so we touch on so many areas of Doctor Who, from the television movie to Rosa to Dark Invasion of Earth, to all these things we bring into it. And so it's like looking at this picture that's just full of reference points, but there is a line, and that line becomes more solid as you go on and you work through the blogs, and that line is pointing to the Weeping Angels, and it's pointing to West of Drumlands. And so therefore the site is hopefully good fun, and hopefully people will enjoy it, but it serves as a prologue and gives you a few clues that you may need for the Lonely Assassins. And the BBC were great. They really gave us a head on this, and they let us go. And so we invented a kind of huge backstory for West of Drumlands, and it takes in everything from a kind of spooky wedding reception story to how the Weeping Angels nixed the sequel to the Lady Killers, which was going to be which was going to be filmed at West of Drumlands, and it's all about Alec Guinness and Peter Sellers. And so it's a thing. Put it that way. It's certainly a thing.
Fascinating. I can't wait to dive into that aspect of the game. Without spoiling anything, maybe teasing something though, were there parts while you were writing it, perhaps when you were sort of seeing it visualized and stuff, that sort of think, yes, this is my favorite bit of the game. I can't wait for people to enjoy this.
There were, and some of it was stuff with Larry, and it lovely to have him back, and just tracing what he's done since Blink and moving forward. That was so enjoyable. And then you put stuff together, and then you see the visuals which the developers have come up with, and that makes your heart sing. It's fantastic. And then writing some stuff for the Weeping Angels, knowing how they would attack, was again really lovely, and all the clever things they can do these days to make that happen and make that so much better than I put on the page. Let's put it that way. So yeah, all of those were really fun moments. And as I say, seeing the shooting and just hearing all the stuff, and Getting to work with Jodie again, Jodie Whittaker was lovely. She kind of makes kind of cameo appearances, which seems fitting, as obviously Blink was a Doctor Light episode. This is a Doctor Light adventure, so we will get some Jodie, but yeah, maybe not when you quite expect it. So yeah.
Interesting. So obviously this is canon then. This fits in properly in the Doctor Who canon.
Yeah, thank you for that one.
You bet.
Yeah,
just open up that can of worms for you.
Yeah, canon. Yes, just like the Ultimate Adventure in the two Dalek movies.
Why not? Yeah,
it flows on directly from there. Yeah. Put it this way: we've spent a lot of time making it authentic. If that makes it canon, then so be it. If people wish to reject that, then I'm not going to cry into my hot chocolate. Put it that way.
No, as Paul Cornell has often said, there is no Doctor Who canon. It is all part of the same universe. And as Peter Capaldi once said, we all make Doctor Who. And I thought that was one of the most truest things I've ever heard from anyone involved making Doctor Who. So
absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. I will admit, you're talking about writing video games just in these times and stuff, and you be able to write them and feeling good about yourself. I find that in the past year, I have been unable to sort of like watch things because it forces my mind to wander. But I have been like playing video games that have storylines to them because I can sort of enjoy a story, but also have an active part in it. So I feel like a game like this is kind of like healing in a way, in that I can be involved in something and it's Doctor Who.
But that's interesting. Do you not have comfort stories and comfort episodes that you watch time and time again that just are like a duvet wrapped around you?
I probably do, and they probably just play in my head. And they're probably the Horns of Naimon, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I do, I suppose. Yeah, but like not new. I never like watched much new television because I think I might not like this. So like there's that ability too. So I do kind of want the warm blanket, and I want to be involved in the storyline. So like a Doctor Who video game that I'm actively involved in seems to be the perfect fit.
It's. I hope so. I hope people think that. I mean, I would genuinely think for these times it will be a great distraction, and hopefully people will enjoy it for that reason as well as many others.
Superb. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It comes out March 19th on mobile platforms and on Steam. Gavin Collinson, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Talk to you again.
Thanks, Gavin. He's fun. That was a fun chat. I like sitting down and just sort of, knowing that, like the Blake 7 reference was the big one right there. Thinking, okay, I see what's going on here. I see I'm speaking with my own guide here. Yeah, exactly.
One of us.
Anyway, yes, the game itself comes out on March 19th. You could get a copy early. You could win it. Here's the deal. Tweet at us here answering this question. Here's our trivia question that you can win a copy of the game along with a poster. The question is this: which televised Doctor Who story do the Weeping Angels first appear in? Tweet us. Tweet us the answer, and we will compile all the answers and draw it sometime on Wednesday in advance of the game itself coming out on Friday. So there you go. Which televised story do the Weeping Angels first appear in? Think long and hard for that answer and send it.
Or to do it more grammatically correct, in which story?
That's true. In which story? Well, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna don't fault me on the grammar. Just go with the story. Anyway, I also went with televised story because I'm thinking there's probably like some sort of weird canon or something where something actually appears first. So televised story.
Well, not to necessarily give away the story, give away the answer, but the story.
Yeah,
the televised story was based on that Christmas.
It was the thing, and that's why I was thinking, did they appear in that first? And I wasn't 100% sure, so televised story. Anyway, tweet us at Radio Free Skaro on Twitter, and I'm looking forward to getting to grips with the game because I'm not a fan of mobile games. I had like an Apple Arcade thing because it was like a free trial. I'm thinking, I hate playing mobile games because my thumbs cover up the screen because it's the controls as well. But this is like sort of like a puzzle game and stuff. So it's like you're basically playing on a phone, but you're playing a game as well. And so I like that. And it's a puzzle and it's a mystery and there's angels and stuff and there's Ingrid Oliver. So yeah, looking forward to it when it comes out on March 19th. So there you go. Lonely Assassins. Did you know, I don't know if you knew this, gentlemen, but we are in the midst of a global pandemic here.
Nope. I've been walking
roughly-
around maskless. Don't care.
Roughly a year
It's just the
into
way
it.
I do things.
Yeah, we're about a year
Yeah, a year ago yesterday is when everything changed.
as we do this. Yeah, it's naturally like all like there's a whole bunch of articles. Oh, let's look back on the past, how it all started. Thinking,
No, let's not. We all know.
I really didn't want to do that. Yeah, like there's a lot of sports ones, and that was like, oh, that was rough. That was a rough night. I remember the last NHL night when like it went from I wonder if we'll play like games in front of stadiums with no fans, and it went from like that like at 5 p.m. to like, oh, the NBA has completely shut down because someone just got COVID or something at the court and they sent everyone home, and it was just like, yeah.
I mean, does the CFL even exist anymore? Not that anybody cares.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it
Maybe.
does, and they might merge with the XFL.
The Edmonton team is
Oh, yeah.
is still yet to announce.
Why is the XFL?
new name.
I saw the headline for that, and I was like, the XFL is a thing again? What?
Yeah. I mean, lots of stuff shut down. It was March. March is the longest month ever because every single hour is basically, yep, this sports
It's
league is
still
shut down.
March.
This
It's
thing is shut
still March.
down. It's getting better. It's April now, at the very least, I think.
I guess.
Yeah. I just remember because that happened. That was March 11th. That was the Wednesday when sports sort of shut down, and then
Sounds about right.
the Thursday, the next day, I had a prearranged Zoom call with Graham Burke and Stacey Smith for their book, who is the Doctor 3. And Stacey was talking about, it's a pandemic. She's a,
She does modeling for viral things.
yeah, and stuff. And so and I was like, like, what does this mean? What does all this mean? And she was sort of like, well, this is the bad stuff. It's like, I was like so naive, think, let's just talk about the pandemic and see what's going on with this. And she was like, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be
What the hell
good.
they're talking about.
Yeah.
We were still not even yet, only just, but still not even yet in the whole, well, if we close things for 2 weeks, we should be okay.
Yeah.
Phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? And then as we were settling in, I thought, what the hell? Let's bring her on. And we did. And like, I still think back to what she said in that interview, like a year ago, like about, we'll go in and out of lockdown and stuff and quarantine and blah, blah, blah. It'll go for the, sadly the weakest of humanity, just the elderly and the frail mostly. And yeah, everything in that interview that we posted, like in late March of 2020, is basically exactly how things went. And she said, "Oh well, I think we'll get vaccines," and we did. And so, like, yeah, I can't remember what episode that was. I know we had this theme of like 4 weeks. We said something of the Daleks, and that was how we coped early on.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Was it only 4? I thought it was more than that. But
I think it was only 4, and then we ran out. We ran out of ideas at that point.
We had Stacey, we had Rob Shearman, we had Steve Barry, we had
Yeah,
who else did
Deb.
have?
We had Deb on as
Deb.
well.
We also had some listeners say, "Hey, could you stop talking about the pandemic?" And I don't 100% blame them for saying that. Honestly.
No, I know.
It's a mixed thing because I mean, there's this there should be an escapist element to things like this, but on this, by the same token, it's it affects all of us.
It does.
And it's not something that should be glossed over.
And at the time, I almost felt like a responsibility. I don't know, to like sort of like let's help get through this together, basically. With information and how, and it's sad and tragic about how we could find an angle. We knew Stacey, who's a scientist and also a Doctor Who writer, so we like base it around like her book on Doctor Who and the Silurians. Rob, of course, came down with it, and we talked about to him with it, and all. Deb had issues with it, not personally with issues, just in dealing with things, work related and stuff. Steve Barry had it and stuff, and just how Big Finish was coping with having to suddenly go, to remote recordings and stuff. And now here we are. I mean, next week, Patreon subscribers have already got the interview, but next week we've got a chat with Mark Ayers about the season 8 and 24 box sets. And, Mark had it over the holidays, Christmas holidays, and then has since actually had to go back to work on these things. But now he's vaccinated. This is where we are. This is a year out, and we have 4 vaccines in Canada. Joe Biden has said that he hopes to have everyone with at least appointments to get their first shot by May 1st, which is amazing. All of a sudden, it's weird to talk about hope after the year that we've had to go through.
I mean, if we hadn't started our bleach regimens as ex-President Trump told us to, where would we be, really?
It's terrifying to think where we would be and how competence has saved us all.
Quiet competence, I might add.
Yeah, so it's it's weird how things are looking up. Galley, the LAX Marriott sent out Gallifrey One hotel things. That sort of that happened. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's like I haven't been able to think about anything in the future at all, and all of a sudden Gallifrey 1 is less than a year away, and right now that still feels like it's an eternity. Mm-hmm. But
it feels like an eternity, and it's still just because of the severe levels of annoyance and disappointment that we've experienced over the last year or thereabouts. Mm-hmm. There's still this voice in the back of my mind saying, is it actually gonna happen? We're so conditioned for things to not happen that it's incredible that something might.
I know.
I have that voice generally, though, not specifically for Gallifrey, just generally.
That's very
totally. Get vaccinated by July.
Totally. There's I'm hoping to be able to actually have vacations and travel sometime in the next year, even beyond outside of Galley, and it's like, is this a thing that can happen? Yes, I can book a flight. Yes, I can do whatever, but there's still impediments.
Are you just thinking, am I just setting myself up for more WestJet gift certificates here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're as we're talking before recording, there's many friends of ours in varying locations that are getting their vaccinations, which is fantastic. And meanwhile, the three of us are sitting in our respective locales and just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Well, and most other Canadians.
Our provincial governments
got theirs, though. So.
Yeah, our provincial governments aren't as advanced in vaccine distribution.
Well, it's also different. It's America. Once they decide they can do something, they have the money and the distribution power to do it, whereas Canada's bigger and has less to draw from.
And we are also not making our own.
People.
Yeah, we're also dependent on other manufacturers to send us vaccines because we don't have the capability to produce our own vaccines here.
Yeah, I'm not saying the rollout's great or anything. It's not. But having said that, there are a bunch of factors here that don't factor there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's relatively orderly. My parents have both had their first shots. Their second is in less than a month. It's happening. Once like everything Canada does, just be patient. It'll happen in an orderly manner, originally defined by your age and birth year and everything else. But it's weird to be hopeful. That's the takeaway right now. It's weird to be hopeful, but it's not something we should run from. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, I mentioned next week is Mark Ayers talking about Blu-rays. Watch your Patreon supporters. Watch your feeds on Tuesday and on the Twitter feeds. We're announcing a new thing coming up over the next few weeks on Tuesday, which will occupy your ears for the next little while. So there's a teaser right there. And look forward to Comic Relief. Comic Relief is on Friday, March the 19th on the BBC. And according to the short 20-second teaser trailer, there's a Doctor Who Casualty crossover with Doctor Who.
Is it canon, though?
Yes, it is. Jodie Whittaker and Mandev Gill are both on the Casualty set. Jodie is waving her sonic screwdriver on the set of Casualty. It's exciting that there's some Doctor Who content, but like I'm trying to think, when's the last time they actually did like new-ish content other than, you know, the nice little Doctor Who meets a young fan kind of thing. You know, like remember those in the glory days when there was always like a specially shot scene and stuff inside the TARDIS usually? Like it feels like, oh my God, we're getting that again. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was pretty prevalent in the Moffat era.
It was.
Especially the Matt Smith era.
Yeah. So now we're getting it, which is
So now
nice.
the question is, does Casualty exist within the Whoniverse, or does Doctor Who exist within the Casualty verse?
It is
They're-
both.
Both. It's like when you're trying to fit the big box inside the little box.
Which box is larger?
yes.
Yeah. Well, though it's further
I don't
away.
understand, Doctor.
No. I know that Call the Midwife certainly exists in the Doctor Who universe because Graham mentioned it, and I don't know if they've mentioned Casualty before. Well, we'll find out on Friday.
Lord of the Rings exists inside the Marvel universe because they quoted in a clip from Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Do they? Oh, well.
Yes, Bucky read it, the original, in 1937, so he's a hipster.
I understand. So anyway, while everyone's watching episode 1 of the Bucky and Falcon show, I'll be watching the Doctor Who Casualty crossover on Comic Relief.
I can't help but
Somehow.
hear a note of moral superiority in your voice.
Yeah. It's funny that, I mean, that show was supposed to be the one that sort of like launched the Marvel series on Disney Plus, but it wasn't ready in time. So, we'll throw this WandaVision thing on, I guess. It's a bit weird and stuff. Maybe it'll find an audience. And of course, everyone seems to have enjoyed it greatly, apparently.
Well, not to cast aspersions on the DC side of things, which
No.
isn't fair because the TV side of DC seems to do a lot more. But on the film side of DC, Marvel just seems to have characters who can sort of stretch a little bit in this manner.
Right. I suppose.
So you're saying DC needs to do more Plastic Man?
Yes, I am in fact saying that.
I don't know what that is. Also, coming out, let's talk about some stuff. Stuff's coming out. Steelbooks in the UK. Steelbooks, the Series 8 Steelbook is available now for pre-order. These are things, of course, that we do not get in North America. You really have to really love your Doctor Who, I suppose, to wait like 8 years to get a Steelbook of the Blu-ray set you probably bought 7 to 8 years ago. But that's what this is. Like it's just the same discs, except just in a steel box now, right? That's what these things are.
Yeah. And the new artwork and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In this case,
It's like when you got
in this case, according
Sorry,
to the article on DoctorWho.tv, it's the discs feature BOAS features, not bonus features, BOAS features.
This reminds me of comic books in the
Chris.
90s where they would have foil covers, which people had to buy because they were completionists.
Yeah.
You bought
Yeah,
them, didn't
yeah.
you? You bought them. I know it.
No, I didn't, actually, because I thought that was stupid.
Okay.
Or even like trading cards.
Because it
where
was
they have,
stupid.
Or trading cards where they have like the hologram cards or whatever.
Oh yeah, those days. Yeah. I mean, admittedly, these are cool looking things, but now you have two different sets. Like, what do you do? What do you do with the old one? Do you give it away? Do you sell it? I don't know. So I'm glad I'm relieved of the burden of having to decide to get these steel books, because it's also not like they come out at a regular release schedule. Like if you were thinking, I can't wait for the steel book of the Capaldi series, well, you're waiting like 7 years to get it, and that's just too long. I don't want to wait 7 years. I want it now. So anyway, enjoy your steel book release on April 19th, UK. And your vaccines, you all be vaccinated. I bet you. I tell you what, I bet you probably have easier access to this Blu-ray Steelbook than you would Series 8 of the Season 8 rather, the John Pertwee, because that is like apparently once again we're back into shortages again because people are having troubles finding enough copies of that. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's like Season 12 all over again.
It seems to happen quite a lot.
I know,
I don't know why.
pretty regularly.
Like
Also,
how I realized they have to like kind of guess in advance how many to produce to sell, but like, can't you just make more?
we never seem to have that issue here in North America, do we? I can't tell if they're making the same amount for both markets and just maybe fewer people are buying them in North America, or are we getting more? I don't know.
I see the season 24 stuff in North America still has no release date.
No.
And they have not changed season 8 from June 1st.
June
It's still
1st.
due that day.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about their Blu-ray sets. People who have got it, of course.
So then you had said that Fury from the Deep is due on
Tuesday. Although it's interesting actually tying it in with another thing that's somewhere on this news list. Phantom Films have been putting out these little things. I think actually it's dropping. The full thing is dropping when this episode drops at 7 p.m. No. We've moved the clocks ahead. This is the 2 weeks of madness where we're 6 hours behind the UK here instead of 7. I get so confused. Anyway, today, where they're talking to like Chris Chapman and Paul Vanessas and Peter Crocker and maybe someone else in there. I can't remember. And they released some clips of it and stuff. And Chris Chapman was talking about how, as the animations continue, that sort of like helps build up a basis of stuff to work off of when it's making a Blu-ray set for those. Because it's funny how people are like, why don't they release a 60s one on Blu-ray yet? And you think, A, it's a lot of restoration work, but B, there's like over 40 episodes of Doctor Who in those seasons. Like, you were looking at a Titanic-sized box set if you're putting that many episodes on one disc.
It looked like an Xbox S.
It might be. It might be. I hadn't thought about that before. I think, of course. Like, it's not like they would try to cram more episodes on. Like, that would be like a 12 to 13 disc box set for the 60s sets, just because of the sheer amount of content that's going to be on them.
But the low resolution means you can get it all on one disc. So problem solved.
Yeah, all the suppressed field film recordings means you could just fit them in the size of a real player file or something.
I mean, the individual episodes that still exist, the extant episodes from the black and white era. That was what, 3 discs, right, for the Lost in Time.
It was on 3. It was on 3. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And those are just orphans. So
yeah. Orphans, and was that? Oh, that wasn't even like Airlock, because that was like way later.
Airlock and Underwater Menace 2 wasn't on there, and of course I don't think was it? No, it was. All the orphan episodes are on there, like the Moon Base, and even though that's of course subsequently come out now on Blu-ray or DVD rather. So yeah. Anyway, it's interesting. The reason we bring it up though is that Paul Vanessas once again confirmed that Doctor Who episodes exist in the hands of private collectors. I mentioned confirmed because, of course, he said it on this podcast like 2 years ago now. So those collectors still have those missing episodes. That's the status. That is the current status, as confirmed by Phantom Films.
Get out your pitchforks, people.
Yep.
Yeah, don't.
Demand to get them back. That's the first thing you should be. Get your vaccine, and then go raid these private. Don't do that. Do not raid private collectors.
I love this alternate universe you live in, where this is so important.
It is illegal. Do not raid people's homes. All right, it's not good. Links to the show notes, so if you want to have a look at that short clip. Doctor Who novelizations came out this past week. The whole bevy of them with Dalek and the Crimson Aura and the Witchfinders and the TV movie got a reprint and official Target thing. I saw Gary Russell post about that look at that. Finally, I have a Target novelization to my name, because he wrote the novelization like 25 years ago, but it wasn't an official sort of Target book per se. So now it's the case. But the press release has sort of happened, and like there's a big long interview with Mark Gatiss in the Radio Times about it, and about him writing his for the Crimson Aura, and then Joy Wilkinson also on the official Doctor Who website. They have a big thing about her writing hers for the Witchfinders, so you can read those interviews with those fine people and their writing of their books in the show notes at radiofreescaro.com. Target books. Let's talk about.
Are either of you buying any of those Target books?
I'm pondering it. I have the first 4, but I haven't gone anywhere since to get anything else.
You know me and reading.
Nor have I read them.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm such a bad reader.
I've got well, I don't think it's necessarily complete, but very, very nearly complete, if not complete, for all the old stuff. And then Kat bought the first batch.
Like on actual proper, like I bought Twice Upon a Time and Day of the Doctor
I definitely have
on
Day of the Doctor in
Kindle.
Rose, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
but
she
they're,
bought the
they're actual proper.
paperbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But we haven't talked about buying the current crop. So I'm not sure what we're doing.
Not sure
I-
what we're doing. Good. Who knows? Could be a...
As I turn around, I see there is still a little bit of space on the bookshelf.
That's the thing. I mean,
that
the
could
funny...
accommodate those.
The funny thing is that I mean, as the Blu-rays come out, my shelf space is opening up.
You could replace it with Target novelizations.
Well, here's the thing: I got rid of my Target novelizations years ago because they were taking up space. So I can't do it. I can't. Sorry.
I have a few autographed ones. Those are the only ones I have, and a
Yeah.
copy of Slipback because I thought it was funny.
Never
read it.
Slipback.
Slipback.
Slipback and the Pescatons.
Yeah. Kindle. I might get Kindle versions. I might get digital versions for these, but as I said before, I'm a bad reader. My
true.
mind doesn't settle
You
in
are.
place to read long enough. Although I have been reading. I read Michael Pillar's book about writing Star Trek Insurrection. I read that front to back, like in the space of 2 nights, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
You're like me. I can, and Chris too. I can just go through behind the scenes stuff like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like WandaVision came out with their behind the scenes special, and I'm like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for this whole time.
Uh-huh.
Get through the Falcon and the Winter Soldier so I could see the behind the scenes puff.
Right? I just want to see how they made it. I don't care about stories. Don't tell me stories. I don't care about those.
Just show me people on wires and
Yeah.
special effects.
Yeah. I always gravitate to nonfiction if I'm reading a book. Anyway, I'm sure the Target novelizations are great. Damn it. Buy them so that we don't, so to accommodate for us not buying them, apart from Chris, who's still on the fence apparently. But
Let's say there's a greater than 50% chance it will be a purchase soon.
nice work. There's only like 4 or 5 of them, right? I can't remember how many there are in total. 7?
Wasn't
You almost sounded like
Orak
Orak when you said that, Chris. There's a greater than 50% chance they will be acquired.
Hey, let's talk about some Big Finish stuff and recastings. Doctor Who: The War Doctor begins with, of course, Jonathan Carley in the role of a young John Hurt as the War Doctor. Is now available for pre-order. Forged in Fire is what it's called, with 3 different stories written by Matt Fitton, Lou Morgan, and our good old friend Andrew Smith writes one called The Shadow Squad. So those are all pre-ordered. Warren, you are curious about these, even though it's not John Hurt.
100% chance this will be acquired.
100%. Wow.
I will definitely get this because it's John Hurt is John Hurt, obviously, and
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? Guy is not with us anymore, so of course you're gonna recast it. I don't think especially with audio, it's not as big a deal for me.
And it's young. That's the thing. It's young War
Exactly.
Doctor. It's like post-regeneration War Doctor.
And with audio, I mean, it's weird how you kind of have to adjust your brain differently. Like, I hate going back to this, but the Rogue One Grand Moff Tarkin, if they'd put, and even though I think they did a really good job with what they could, if they'd put another actor in there, as we would just said, okay, it's another actor, whatever. You wouldn't even think twice about it.
Right.
With audio, somehow there's a little more of a hump with that, but really there shouldn't be.
Well, because you have no visual reminder,
Yeah.
I suppose. But even let's face it, some of the act, when you bring an actor back after 30 or 40 years, possibly, when to play the role again. I mean, they don't quite sound the same.
Yeah, Peter
anymore.
Davison sure doesn't.
No, and they perform. I mean, as much as they would want to, let's just remember how I performed this back in 1983 or something. They're going to perform it essentially how they're doing now.
Tom Baker is a good example of that on Big Finish because he's definitely doing a Big Finish Tom Baker. You know
He
what I
is.
mean? And Colin Baker has really redefined that Doctor, and same with, obviously for obvious reasons, Paul McGann.
Yeah, I think Paul McGann, maybe just because we had so little visual representation of Paul McGann, that it feels like McGann's Doctor feels like a natural in as probably
Yeah,
the
he
most
totally does,
natural
yes.
in Big Finish as anything. But yeah, speaking of recastings, there's a new Dodo, everyone. We finally got Dodo in the Big Finish canon. Lauren Cornelius is playing Dodo Chaplet in the Doctor Who: The Early Adventures, Volume 5, coming out in April of this year. With a couple stories. I'm just wondering. I hope that for the sake of continuity, that her first appearance will be her with a northern accent, and then all of a sudden she'll be Cockney in the second story, as Dodo appeared in her 19 weeks of Doctor Who in various different accents based on what BBC producer thought was appropriate at the time.
Lauren Cornelius is a great name, by the way.
I looked at that and I think, is that the character name? Because I would, if I was a character, and I'd be going, let's call her Lauren Cornelius. If they could send this back to the writer's room right now. That's not a real name.
Given she's playing Dodo, I'm pretty sure the character name would not be Lauren Cornelius.
I know Lauren Cornelius. It's like Rianne Starbuck plays Sharon in the Tom Baker audios. I'm thinking, your name is Rianne Starbuck. That's the coolest name ever. And you're playing someone called Sharon? For God's sake, you've got that messed up. Play yourself in this one and go with your own name. Rianne Starbuck and Lauren Cornelius Star. Like, just think about that. Like, yeah, that's a duo right there. Anyway.
Probably makes no continuity sense
None.
whatsoever.
I don't care. Actors' names are much cooler. Yeah, actors' names are much cooler than the characters they play. Let's get a list going. Let's get a whole list of that. You know? Anyway.
And just like Tom Baker has done more series of Big Finish than he did on TV, I'm sure we'll get Lauren Cornelius doing more Dodo stories overall than Dodo actually, or than Jackie Link actually did.
No, that is not much of an accomplishment. That's 19 half-hour episodes. I think. Yeah,
Next up, recasting Sarah Kingdom and Katarina.
I think this first Doctor Adventures alone might break this record. This particular edition.
There's one box set alone.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think they might actually. Doctor Who: The Early Adventures, The Secrets of Det Sen, because it's basically a prequel to The Abominable Snowmen, and the After the Daleks comes out April. You can pre-order them now, bigfinish.com. Also, Torchwood, the monthly Torchwood release coming up. Torchwood, The 5 People You Kill in Middlesbrough, by Yvonne Hartman, who of course plays Tracy Ann by Yvonne Hartman. Of course, I thought for a second that
Tracy Ann Oberman, who plays Yvonne Hartman.
I know I got messed up. I thought
topsy-turvy.
All this talk about actors and casting, I thought, Yvonne Hartman, she plays. No, wait, it's the other way around. Tracy Ann Oberman plays Yvonne Hartman. Anyway, it's featuring her from Torchwood. So, and she's awesome and great. And
Dennis Lawson,
Wedge. From Star Wars
himself.
Yeah.
Neat.
Uncle to Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor, that's right. Who's in every Star Wars film apart from 7 and 8.
Can
I know
just
he's
say whatever
9.
Torchwood's faults, and there are quite a few, the titles are always great. They really do go out of their way to make great titles.
The 5 People You Kill in Middlesbrough is a great name. Yeah. Anyway, that is also available for a pre-order. Coming out soon. Bigfinish.com. That's not it. One more thing. Big Finish's box set bonanza for out of print CDs. They're selling big box sets of them basically. So they're planning to have them 4 times a year this year. So how about that?
So are these back in CD form, or are these digital box sets of these out of print ones?
CDs. So that's the out of print stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that is or is going out of print.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you can clear space in the warehouse as much as anything, I'm sure.
Warehouse clearance sale. Yeah. So there. All the Big Finish stuff, once again, happening apace because they do a lot of stuff there. So good work, Big Finish. Boy, it's been a long time since we've talked about this. Fictitious awards, everyone. Yeah. Doctor Who won the Best SF Fantasy Award at the Radio Times Awards. How about that? They have a video that said, thanks for giving us this award. It is what they said. They didn't even know what award it was. They did. It was the Radio Times Award. But Jodie Whittaker and Mandip Gill were there saying thank you and stuff. Not with John Bishop there, because he wasn't in the show that they actually won the award. But I also didn't see John Bishop in that very tiny clip of the Children in Need thing either. So I'm beginning to wonder if maybe the John Bishop thing is actually just a fake out and he's not actually in the show at all. No? Is that a good
Who knows?
No? Okay.
We got months to figure this one out, so.
I'm sure he's actually in the show. But kind of like Bradley Walsh never really appeared in like any of the sort of like the supplemental stuff. It always seemed to be the Doctor and Yaz anyway, but anyway, they won. They won a Radio Times Award. Good for them. Yay! The prestigious Radio Times Awards. Best show for SF and fantasy is Doctor Who. And finally, we end with sad news. This broke like just as late last week anyway, after we had recorded last week's episode. David Bailey, who appeared in The Robots of Death as Taryn Capel, aka Dask, spoilers for Robots of Death, as well as a long and varied acting career, including playing the Celestial Toymaker in the Big Finish audios, sadly passed away at the age of 83. He's also in those Pirates of the Caribbean movies too, which I never really watched.
I think every Brit was. It's like kind of like Harry Potter.
It kind of was the Harry Potter of Doctor Who actors, wasn't it? Yeah. So, alas, sad news to end this episode. And usually we would throw to an interview, but we've already done that, so we have to end the entire episode on sad news about David Bailey. So,
Yep.
So I guess that's it. Once again, get us a tweet at us. The answer to the question is, what televised story did the Weeping Angels first appear in? You could win a prize pack for the Lonely Assassins video game, which is coming out on mobile platforms and Steam on March 19th. And next week, of course, Mark Ayers on the show talking about the Season 8 and 24 Blu-rays. A little bit about the Randolph audio tapes as well. I threw a whole bunch of stuff in there. Good chat with Mark Ayers. He's doing well for himself now. So that is next week on this old podcast, Radio Free Skaro. So until next time, I am Steven in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro. Subscribe to us on iTunes and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.